Knights, A Journey of Dreams. So, if you don't know anything about Knights, essentially you fly, and you're this character, and you fly through rings and get points. That's basically what Knight is. It's a sequel to the Sega Saturn game. It also has like these sections where you play as little kids. Those suck. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Those sections just suck. But when you're playing as Knights, it's actually quite a bit of fun. You can control with like the Wiimote, I believe, and point on the screen, or you can use this more traditional controller. At one point, this was like a soundtrack that was probably one of my favorite soundtracks in any video game. I haven't listened to it in probably like 10 years, so I'm actually interested in doing that right after this, and seeing if it's still good, if it still holds up. If you're a fan of Knights or you don't know what Knights is, I do think that this is good, with the exception of the kind of the kid levels, but I still think it's very unique. One of these like rare, unique sequels on the system that kind of came out of nowhere. Wii Fit and Wii Fit Plus. Yep, I was one of those people. Got into Wii Fit and Wii Fit Plus. So Wii Fit Plus is like basically an expansion of this. You use the Wii balance board to do yoga and stretches and play mini games and stuff. I actually enjoyed this. It was at a time in my life where I didn't have a lot of time to exercise and stuff, and having kind of the world of Wii Fit to kind of like come back to, and I actually started getting kind of nostalgic about it, because it had relaxing music and it kind of walks you through how to do exercises. It is not something that's going to get you like ripped, but it is kind of nice to just kind of do some like relaxing exercises every now and then. Rune Factory Frontier. This is a Rune Factory game on the Wii, and what that means is it's essentially like Harvest Moon, except there are also like enemies to kill. So I know you can do that in like Stardew Valley and other Harvest Moon games, but at the time this was actually really unique for the Harvest Moon series. I spilled some oil on this at some point. I remember buying some really nice olive oil or something, and then it opened up and like got oil on some of my games. That's disappointing. But what I like about it too is you can also kind of recruit animals. So let's say there's like a bull-like monster in the world who's going to attack you and kill you. You can like really lower his HP and then kind of charm him, and then he basically becomes like a cow that you can like use to get milk and cheese and that kind of stuff or whatever. Or you can like get a dragon to come live with you, but then you can ride the dragon around town and use him to fight in dungeons and stuff. I don't even want to say how many hours I sunk into it, but it took me a long time to beat. Probably over 100 hours. There's a sequel on the Wii as well, which is way more expensive on the Wii than it is on the PS3. So I just got the PS3 version, which I haven't played yet. But these games are kind of hard to go back to after playing things like Stardew Valley and other Harvest Moon games that are inspired by them and improve upon them. But I have really fond memories of this game. And speaking of fond memories, Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition. Resident Evil 4 is probably one of the highest rated or regarded games, I think. Definitely of a few generations ago. I still think it's a great game. It really revolutionized how Resident Evil worked. If you haven't played Resident Evil 4, I think it's worth the hype. This version, until other ones came out in more recent years, was, I think, the definitive version of this game, because it has everything from the PS2 version as well as the GameCube version, so it has all of those bonuses from both those versions, and you can use the Wiimote to aim and the nunchuck to walk around. It works so well. Like, it works so well that I don't even have the GameCube version. Like, I like to play this one instead. It didn't feel gimmicky at all. It didn't feel necessary. Like, it felt natural. Like, that third person with Wiimote worked really well, and I'm disappointed that more third-person shooters with good controls didn't come out on the Wii. There's also these two rail shooters, Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles, and then Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles. I think Dark Side Chronicles is much better. This one kind of felt cash grabby, but then when this sold well, then we decided to make a better one. So I believe this one goes through... which ones? Resident Evil 2 and Veronica? And then this one goes through, I don't know, like Resident Evil 1 and 2 or something. You can look it up. But basically, they're just first-person Resident Evil games. They work really well. First-person, rail shooters. So zombies will pop up, and you shoot them with your Wiimote, kind of like House of the Dead. I think this one especially is a very good game. And it kind of fills in the gaps too. Like it fills in gaps between games, or in the first game you're like, what was Wesker doing when everyone else was doing other things? And it kind of like gives you a glimpse into what was happening kind of behind the scenes of those games. And also, if you want to know more about Resident Evil, I also talked to somebody for like 3 hours about Resident Evil, so you can look at that on my channel. Punch-Out! Another, like, one of these games that's just like a sequel out of nowhere. Great game. You can use just, normal controls if you want, or you can use kind of the Wii motion controls. You can also use the balance board, which I haven't done, and I'm kind of interested in doing. This is just super solid. There's nothing, I would say, special or amazing about it, but it's another Punch-Out game. It's super stylized, nice graphics, great controls. Like, it's, it doesn't have any like bells and whistles, but it is so solid and works really well. Even if you've never played the original Punch-Out games, I think this is worth checking out. Geometry Wars Galaxies. So, yeah, Geometry Wars. It is I guess like a twin stick shooter, I would call it. So you use one, and I'm going off of memory here, so if I'm incorrect, sorry, but you use one stick to like fly around and the other stick to shoot in all directions, and it is kind of like just has like these little shapes that you can attack. So it's kind of like, I guess, like Robotron, but has a great like techno soundtrack. I think there were a lot of digital versions of this, but the Wii got a physical version, which is great. I've had lots of fun with this. You can kind of like really zone out. It's got multiplayer, which is nice. And then you got the Wii games, right? You got Wii Sports Resort, Wii Music, and Wii Play. And you can see I have another poorly done custom case for Wii Sports. What will I say about Wii Sports? I think that Wii Sports might be one of the most important games ever released. I don't say it's one of the best, but it came packaged with most Wiis, and I think it had such an impact on the industry to, I guess, invite so many people to come play games again, right? There were so many people that bought a Wii just for this game and never bought anything else, but it kind of made video games trendy again. I went back and I played this a couple years ago, and it's definitely not as like smooth as I remember it being, but I do think it still offers a pretty good experience and demonstrates kind of what the Wii can do. Wii Sports Resort is kind of the sequel, which I have not played, but I believe uses the Motion Plus, so other kinds of sports and in there, like biking and running and flying planes and that kind of stuff. Wii Music, yeah, I own Wii Music. It's it's people were really disappointed in this because they thought it was basically going to be like Rock Band, but using just motion controls and stuff, and it's not anything like that. It's basically, you pretend your nunchuck and your Wiimote are like different instruments, and like basically just press buttons on time. I think if like you have like a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, this would be an amazing game for them. I part of me kind of likes it, but I'm also very conscious of the fact this game was not made for me. Like, this was made for like really young kids who were too young to play Rock Band but still want to play music. I think it's decently well made. I think that it's I just think it's not for me, and that's okay. Wii Play, which is another game that I believe came packaged with a controller. It has some pretty decent games. I think it has like kind of like a duck hunt game. It has a tank game, which is a lot of fun. This is just kind of like another collection of mini games. Okay, just powering through what's left here of the games that I have played. Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Yeah, this is probably my favorite Smash Bros. Game. Part of it's just because for me this was a huge leap up from Melee. Like, they introduced a lot of good characters like Captain Olimar, Meta Knight, Snake was in there, which was random, Sonic was in there. Like, that was such a big deal that Sonic was in there, because that's something that was rumored to be in Melee for so long. So I liked all the new characters they put in. I liked how they took some of the characters that were clones in the last game and made them a bit more different. I loved the level editor, was great. You can make your own levels. And the single player, what was it called again? Subspace Emissary, I think. The single player was great, had hilarious cutscenes. The game felt epic. The online wasn't great. but the at-home multiplayer is fantastic. The tripping that they added was not welcome, but otherwise, like, I really loved this game. Super Monkey Ball, Banana Blitz, and as II is demonstrating on the front, that's how you control this game, sort of. You move the controller around to move the world around, kind of like a Marble Madness kind of thing. Not as good as the first 2 Monkey Ball games, but I don't know if anything will ever top that. There is also one called Step and Roll, where you use the balance board to move around, and I would like to play that at some point. Poke Park and Poke Park 2 Wonders Beyond. These both don't have manuals. I'm guessing because this is aimed at children, a lot of manuals went missing, but also I think these go for like twice as much money if they have the manuals. I was like, you know what, I just want them. Because they're Pokemon games, I don't know if they sold well, and they're only going to go up in price. So, Poke Park Wii is basically you play as Pikachu with some really nice animations, and run around a world that's full of Pokemon and do mini-games. So that doesn't sound great, but I really liked Hey You Pikachu, and I really liked Pokemon Channel on the GameCube, and this is like kind of in that same vein where it's relaxed, it's clearly made for children, but I still enjoyed it. And then Poke Park 2, I think, is some more of the same, except maybe you get to control some other characters. It's essentially like running around as Pokemon, completing little tasks and mini-games, like chasing people or grabbing an item or something like that. So simple. I think this would be great for kids, but I like childish games, I guess. Okami with the notorious IGN cover, so whoever made this cover for this game couldn't find the original photo, I guess, so like just took one from IGN, and like they left the watermark in there accidentally. So anyways, again, like Resident Evil 4, I think before some of the more recent iterations, this was the better version than the PS2 version. In part because they had way more color, so it was more saturated, which was nice. It just looked brighter. And it also, like, I like using the Wiimote in this game. I think it was great for drawing because you're playing this wolf who's the sun goddess, and you use like calligraphy to draw on the screen like a circle, and that'll make something happen, or a slash, and that'll make something else happen. I don't like how you have to like flick to attack. They could have had that as the A button or something, but the ink paintings that you're doing is really great. It's cel-shaded, it's beautiful. It does go on too long, in my opinion. I think that the game looks like it's going to end like twice, and each time it just keeps going, and then you get a little bit tired of it. But great game by, I believe, Clover, who was formed of previous Capcom people. So I think it was made like the Beautiful Joe series. I think these are the same people that did that. But again, no research, so who knows. Kirby's Epic Yarn and Kirby Return to Dreamland. So Return to Dreamland, I believe, was a game that they were originally going to release on the GameCube, and then they just never ended up making it. But it's a 4-player, side-scrolling Kirby game. Tons of fun. I think you can, like, stack up on each other in these, like, gigantic power-ups. I mean, it's a Kirby game. You know what Kirby games are. You go left to right, you eat things. But this one has multiplayer, which is nice. And then Kirby's Epic Yarn was clearly a game that wasn't a Kirby game, but they turned into one, which I'm okay with. I think that the graphics were super cute, the music was really cute, everything was just super cute. The difference with this game is that you don't suck up enemies and get their powers, which is like Kirby's like that's his deal. But I'm glad this happened. Like, I wouldn't want every Kirby game to be like this, but I'm glad it happened. It was like a nice little departure. And again, with great graphics and cute music and lots of fun. Lost in Shadow, I swear this was supposed to be a eShop game on the Wii, but I can't find any evidence of that, or I couldn't at the time. But it's essentially a game where you play as a shadow, so it's hard to tell. But basically there's stuff in the foreground, and light is cast onto it to make shadows, and you play just the shadow of the boy. So you can use like this little fairy character to move where the light is, to like stretch shadows or bring shadows closer to you that you need to jump across a barrier or something. So I guess it's a puzzle platformer, a really unique concept. I think I've got about halfway, and then I just kind of got frustrated. But again, this is like a really unique title that I think is worth at least trying out. New Super Mario Bros. Wii. I'm not a fan of the new series of games, so the new Super Mario Bros. On DS, and then this one, and then the Wii U ones, because to me, they seem more like, they kind of seem like fan games. They don't really have a lot of heart in them. They're okay, but they don't have, like, that, like, Mario magic, you know? And it's probably because it was built to be played by 4 players, not built to be played by 1 player, and then others can join. And I get why they did that, but it is a good game for playing multiplayer. Like, I think playing 2-player or even 3-player is a lot of fun. 4 player is a bit hectic. Okay, we're going to end on a high note here. Silent Hill Shattered Memories. This is my favorite Silent Hill game, which a lot of people, this is their least favorite, or one of the least favorite. And I think that that's largely in part because it was supposed to be a reimagining of the first game. I've never played the first game, so I had nothing to compare it to. I've played 2, 3, and 4, and in my opinion, I enjoyed this one more. In part because there's a lot of dialogue choices that affect the game, so it has replay value. I think also the fact that you can't attack enemies and you have to run away was interesting and refreshing at the time. I like the cold aesthetic that it has. I like how they use the Wiimote. You know, like you'll have like a key inside of a can and you gotta like shake it out, or you can use the Wiimote like as a cell phone to call people. So lots of interesting stuff. I really like this game. If you heard bad things, I would still try to check it out. The PS2 version is probably cheaper. One of my favorite games on the Wii. Yeah, one of my favorite survival horror games too. So that concludes the Wii games that I know enough about to talk about because I've played them at least a little bit, or have played their prequels or sequels, that sort of thing. So if this is where you are ending your super long watch of me talking about Wii games, thanks for sticking around. I hope I introduced you to a few new titles you hadn't heard about, or inspired you to dust off your Wii and play some Wii games. This has been Silver Mongoose Videos, and remember, classic gaming never gets old.